Hey everyone, welcome back to Goody and Johnny Mo at the Movies. We are going with episode 22 tonight.
22?
As Johnny Mo would say. And tonight we are doing Once Upon a Time,
in
Hollywood. Quentin Tarantino's ninth directorial film. We saw this earlier this week. We are finally getting to do the review tonight, and we are going to share it with you right now. Be prepared. This has spoilers in it.
Super duper spoilers.
We are going to be doing it all over this video. So with that, we're going to do our little introduction.
Yep.
So, Johnny Mo, you started off. What are you drinking?
I am drinking Imperial, which is the Cerveza de Costa Rica, which apparently is the pride of Costa Rican beer since 1924. I've never had it before. It's not that bad.
How can you go wrong? Tonight I'm going with Scheffley. Their pumpkin ale. My beer distributor had pumpkin ale right now. It's the August 2nd. I love pumpkin ale beer, so the fact that this was out already, I was picking this up right away.
I hate pumpkin ale beer, so I'm glad Chris is drinking it and I'm not.
Yeah, he's not lying about that. I love it. This does not have the cinnamon sugar rim, which I'm going to admit, I actually enjoy that. I will do that myself on occasion, but just not tonight for this video. So I think with that, we're going to say cheers.
Cheers.
The one shout out that I want to give tonight is all of our podcast listeners. So yes, Goody and Johnny Mo at the Movies is on podcast right
whatever
now.
That means.
So we are introducing that to Johnny Mo, telling him all about what podcast means. But we are finally not only doing this via YouTube, but we are also doing this on our podcast stream. You can find us all over the place right now.
On Spotify, whatever that is.
So we are on Spotify. We are on iTunes Podcast. We are on Google Play. We are on Anchor. We are on Radio Public. There's a few other channels which we are on, but as long as you're looking, if you do a podcast right now, if you have an app that you like to use, look us up. Most likely we are on there right now. We did this over the last week. All of our current episodes are up there, so if you like just listening to podcasts or listening to our episodes and you don't want to actually watch us, by all means, go back. We have all of our episodes uploaded, ready to go. We hope you guys check us out.
We're great for when you're driving on a long road trip.
Absolutely.
We're great for if you're doing your morning jog and you got your headphones on, all that good stuff. We're good anytime.
We're good at any time. Stop us, start us whenever you like. In the gym, wherever you feel it's necessary. We just hope we bring some interesting content with you guys. We really just want to share a drink, share our passion and enthusiasm of movies with you guys. That's why we like to do this every single week. We don't know how many people we have following us, but we do know that we enjoy doing this every movie that we actually review.
Absolutely.
So I think with that, we are going to get started.
And I can tell you right now, I got a lot to say about this movie. So
Johnny Mo has seen this twice.
I've seen it twice already.
He had to see it with his wife, and then he saw it with me.
I will be starting with an Imperial, but by the time I'm done, I think I'll be ending with a Guinness.
Hopefully we will do this all in one shot and won't have to do a cut.
Oh man, this could easily be a Kill Bill Part 1, Part 2. There's too much for one episode.
So I think with that, we're going to do a cheers. Not
Cheers.
only to you and me for episode 22.
Episode 22.
But to our new podcast listeners, we really hope you guys enjoy this, as well as our YouTube viewers. Guys, please, as always, follow,
watch,
enjoy, comment. Let us know what you guys think. What did you think of the movie? We always want to know. So with that, I'm going to actually turn this over to Johnny Mo, since he's had 2 viewings of this.
Oh my goodness, I don't even know where to begin with this. Okay, so I'm going to finish this viewing, and I'm going to forget half the things I want to say. There's so much to talk about. But let's start with this. For the record, I actually didn't really know about this movie too much coming out. I think I have yet to see a commercial on TV for this movie, and I don't know why. Because not for nothing, Quentin Tarantino is a pretty big name.
But not to mention, you actually don't watch a lot of TV.
I do kind of though.
No.
But I do see commercials.
What do you watch on TV right now, summertime?
Maybe.
Fear the Walking
America's
Dead?
Got Talent.
America's Got Talent. Okay. Okay, so out of all the channels and all the nights that there's TV going on, you watch one
Yeah, but
show.
I usually am aware of films coming out, at least ones that are like kind of high profile, big names. I had no idea this Tarantino film was coming out. Didn't really know about it until maybe a week before I saw it. And then it was like, oh, Quentin Tarantino's 9th film. Okay, let's check it out. And Newsday, now I think it's actually getting, I think it's getting mixed reviews. I think some people are really giving it really good reviews, and I think some people aren't. And even from word of mouth, from what I've seen, I definitely know people that have seen this movie and didn't like it at all. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know that this movie is for everyone, but that is not the movie's fault. It's the fault, I think, of, it's not even really the fault of the moviegoer. It is the fault of Hollywood. Because Hollywood, for a number of decades, has been producing product instead of art. And so when a movie comes out that is really an artistic triumph, that isn't just like an art house film that nobody ever heard of from somebody that nobody ever made. You know, sometimes these gems come out and the general public can't attach to it because they're so used to the garbage that comes out all the time. You know, they're just their expectations.
Well, I think also Quentin Tarantino, his films over the years, his other 8 films that he's released, in my experience, I have seen people's take on it as almost a love it, hate it type of film.
Oh, yeah. And
like,
some of his films you can act very much love or hate. I mean, there are people that hate Pulp Fiction, which is insane.
I really think that with when you're talking about Quentin Tarantino, when you're talking about his films that are out there, I don't really know how much of a middle ground there is. I think for people, that's either you loved the film or you didn't really like the film, and that's it. I have yet to really talk to someone who was very lukewarm with Pulp Fiction.
Yeah,
the majority of people I've talked to enjoy Pulp Fiction. Pulp Fiction is my favorite Quentin Tarantino film. Still is.
Mine too.
Even after this viewing.
And I think it's his best, and I think it's his greatest.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's my favorite. Those are 3 completely different things.
And I still think that's one of the best films in the last 25 years.
Oh, I consider...
Pulp Fiction was 94, right?
94, I believe.
So you're talking 25 years old.
Yeah.
That is one of the best films
I would say
of the past 25 years.
The entire decade of the 90s, which I actually am a big fan of, I think the 2 single greatest films that come out of the 90s are Pulp Fiction and Schindler's List. And those are 2 radically different films.
Oh, Spielberg. Well, you know I love Spielberg, so I can't really argue with you on that one.
Schindler's List is a masterpiece. Pulp Fiction is a completely different type of masterpiece.
But that's what Quentin Tarantino brings. He brings a different view than what we're used to.
Yeah.
And it's much, whether you love it or hate it, he brings a much more artistic style to filming than what we see on a more frequent basis.
Well, you know what it is. Okay, so the thing, and this is the crux of the argument. Tarantino is an artist. He is creating art. He is not creating product. And you may or may not like his art.
Yeah.
And I can tell you right now, his films are not all the same. This film is actually very different in style from some of the other films he's done in the past. And I'll get into more into that later. Back in the day, there were a lot of filmmakers who were artists and brought their artistry to their film. And if you had 10 of these different guys making the same film, they would be 10 completely different films because they would bring how they would do it. Whereas today, for the most part, 10 people making the same film, it's probably pretty close to the same film for all 10 of them, and chances are it's not that good anyway. Because when you're creating product, everybody, it's like 10 people that just know how to make a table making a table. They're going to come out. It's all going to look like the same table. But if you have a master carpenter or making classic work, these are completely different types of work. And with film, it's even more so.
The one thing I've really noticed about Tarantino is that he really enjoys nostalgia from his time period.
Yeah, and this movie does that much more so.
This movie does a lot of that. So this movie's based based in the late 60s.
The
Around-
entire film takes place in 1969,
Right, and
with
it's
a couple of flashback scenes that may
correct.
have occurred a little earlier.
And it's basically all around the death of Sharon Tate, who was a film actress who was, of course, killed by the
Manson family.
Manson family or the Manson cult.
Yeah, and this is the funny thing because it's about that, but in a roundabout
But it's not
way.
right.
It's peripherally about that.
It's very similar. Okay, if you saw Inglourious Bastards, it's something similar to that, where Inglourious Bastards took place around World War II with Hitler. But as you saw at the end of Inglourious Bastards,
Total alternative reality.
take
Alternative
on
reality.
killing Hitler in the theater
Right.
is very similar to what this movie did. This movie, it takes place, it's basically characters that somehow were around the Sharon Tate character.
It's basically two new characters.
Fictitious
characters embedded in 1969.
Right. Embedded in real history.
Right, that actually created their placement in the film lends to a different outcome.
An alternate reality.
Right, and you know the whole thing. Once upon a time in Hollywood, you know, it is like, you know, kind of like a fairy tale.
Right.
And it is a fairy tale ending, so to speak. It's an alternate ending.
But I think it does a really good job of showcasing that time frame where you're talking about
Yes.
westerns and
Well,
how
everything.
big that was in Hollywood, and that was just such a staple.
It's taking all of 1969. It is actually the entire
the
purpose
music-
of this movie.
The
is
music,
recreate
the look of actual
the
Hollywood.
feel.
Yes.
Of 1969.
Of, like,
It is-
old
it
Hollywood.
is an homage to Hollywood in the late 60s, which is very different from Hollywood in the early
Now.
60s
And even now.
40s, and absolutely now.
Yeah.
You know, it's trying to recreate the feel of that time period, and I think that is what makes the film maybe beyond certain people's grasp. Because if you have no knowledge of that time period, or of the films of that time period, or the climate of that time period, you know, you're not going to get the feel. You're not going to get the references. You're not going to get the nostalgia, and you know, and that's sad in a way because it's not that long ago. You know what I mean? You know, and not for nothing, I was born in 1968. I wasn't around. I was 1 year old in 1969. But you know, I have my feel and love of movies goes back way back, and so I know like all these films from that time.
But you don't
and I read a lot of Hollywood books and stuff. So I understand the climate and what was going on and the history of film, where the history of film was in 1960.
But I'll also say too, like, listen, I was born 12 years later. Okay, I was born in 1981, so most of my knowledge comes from films probably somewhere in the mid 70s to present day. Anything early 70s, especially into the 60s and beforehand, not as much. But I definitely appreciated this film because I knew how important, when talking about DiCaprio's character, how important Westerns were, and that was such that's like, to me, that's like what superhero films are now. That's what Westerns were then.
Right.
That's kind of how I pictured the era, like that, like they were such a big part of film and cinema to a degree.
Yeah, I mean,
and they were branching that. So DiCaprio, but that was.
I mean, DiCaprio he's an actor. He's a TV star, and he was starring in a Western TV show, and then managed to get into spaghetti Western movies.
In a Italian.
Spaghetti.
Is that how they termed it? The spaghetti Western, which was Italian.
Spaghetti Western was an Italian Western.
All right, so
and we'll get into more into that later. There's so many layers to this movie.
So like and the one thing that I told. That I spoke to John about with this film is I felt it was very interesting, the dichotomy between Sharon Tate and Leonardo DiCaprio's character, where DiCaprio was this older actor on almost like his way down. Like he's a veteran actor who's been around for a while.
I mean, veteran but not old.
veteran up but not old, but like he's not getting picked up for these big, huge roles.
Yeah.
He's only
getting older.
He's getting older, so he's only really getting picked up for like name recognition only,
Yeah.
and not for anything more than that.
Mhm.
And Al Pacino, he has a small role in this film. He articulates this in the beginning of the film when he talks to DiCaprio and hits it right on the head.
Yeah.
And I think that gets in DiCaprio's head, his character's head, and finally grasps, I'm a has-been. And afterwards he says that to Brad Pitt's character. He's like, I'm a has-been. Even if that might not be the case, but it's just how Pacino presented that to him.
Mm-hmm.
And now you look at Sharon Tate's look, and I love Margot Robbie in this.
Oh yeah, yeah.
If there was one thing I wanted more out of this film, it was more Margot Robbie.
Well,
she was not given enough of a part in this film.
You know what? Yes and no, because the you know what it is. The film assumes that you know what happens to Sharon Tate.
Yes.
So she's there, and these two parallel stories are happening that come together at the end.
That's exactly right.
You know, and the story, you know, you can say like, oh, this is, you know, how these guys made a different ending to what happened to Sharon Tate. But the movie is not
Sharon Tate's a subplot.
Yeah.
Sharon
it's about these two guys.
It's about Leo and it's about Brad Pitt's characters. It's about this actor who's on his downfall of his career, or the decline of his career, along with his stuntman Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
And Margot Robbie playing Sharon Tate is more of a subplot.
Yeah.
Because that's the reality of the time.
It's
her.
It's the culmination of the film, but the movie is about them.
Right.
And that's the beauty of how this movie is woven together. Because if you get totally into, DiCaprio's and Pitt's characters, and their story and what's going on with them.
Which is great.
And then at the end, it ties into
reality.
What happened, Sharon Tate's fate and the change that had occurred in this almost like fairy tale rendition of the time period.
Which
is genius.
It was very well done.
Yeah, because Sharon Tate was just woven in parallel.
Right. And it was basically like, it was almost like basically Tarantino wanted to write a story around the story of Sharon Tate.
Yeah.
But it was almost like a what if.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's basically what this is.
Yeah.
It's a what. That's why this whole thing of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, it's a fairy tale of you are following these two guys. You're following Brad Pitt and you're following Leonardo DiCaprio, and what's going on in their life. And somehow Sharon Tate's like on the outskirts of this, and you keep seeing glimpses of her and glimpses of her until they finally connect. At the end. But the outcome is totally different than reality.
Yeah.
But you're like, that would have been such a great, and it's very similar. That's why I said before about Inglourious Bastards, because of how they destroy the theater and they kill Hitler in the theater. Like, it's a happy ending.
This movie is actually a beautiful and poetic ending because. Because literally, there are people that really have no idea who Sharon Tate is, and I can be honest with you. I know who Sharon Tate is, but I didn't know everything about her. I only had seen a couple.
I only know her because of the Manson killings,
right? And there are people that don't even. I can tell right now, like there are people, going to the movies today that have no freaking idea about any of that, and they're just watching this, going like, they don't even get what this movie is about,
right?
And I think there's enough people out there where that's where I think a lot of the, the negative. Feedback is coming from, because they just don't get it. And it's like, you know what? Quentin Tarantino isn't making the movie for the people that know nothing about movies, know nothing about the history of Hollywood, and go to the movies to see garbage. Like, he's making it for cinemaphiles.
Well, I think I wonder if some of the negative feedback is because of the fact that is he cheapening Sharon Tate's death by skirting around it?
No, I don't think so at all. I don't even know that he. No, it's really an homage to her, because basically what happened is, in reality, is the Manson family got orders from Charles Manson to kill the people living in that house.
Right.
And they actually had nothing against Sharon Tate or
Right.
anybody.
It was just the fact that they were living in that house.
Charles Manson had associations with the former people that lived in that house.
Right.
And for whatever reason, it irked him that those people weren't there. And for whatever reason, he ordered a hit,
Right.
on those people. I don't even know if he really knew or cared who was in that house. But it just so happened to be Sharon Tate and Roman Polanski. And Roman Polanski wasn't there at the time.
Polanski was filming over in Europe somewhere.
Yeah, he wasn't there at the time. And Sharon Tate was pregnant. And she was actually an up-and-coming film star who was absolutely beautiful and had starred in a bunch of films.
With A-list celebrities at the time.
Sure.
Dean Martin.
Yeah, and
right?
there was a Dean Martin in The Wrecking Crew, and a bunch of other films.
And that's the movie that's showcased in the Quentin Tarantino's film. There's a scene, in the trailers, you could see this where Sharon Tate's or Margot Robbie's outside the marquee saying, "Oh, I'm in this movie," and they kind of at first the girl at the ticket counter doesn't really recognize who it is, and then she brings over one of the attendants, and he's like, "Oh, you're in this?" He's like, "Oh, please, come on in," and they take a picture of her near the movie poster. Mm-hmm. Now I wanted to look up because I'm wondering if on the internet
that actually is a real
if that's a real picture,
and it very well could be,
because the way that the scene took place, it was almost like the progression of it. Like she was going to take a picture with the attendant, and she had a bag in her hand because she was shopping in the area. Mm-hmm. And then that all changed, and oh, how about you take a picture over by the poster so we know who you are?
And she does a pose.
And she does a certain pose, almost like a Charlie's Angels pose.
Yeah.
And they take a picture of it. The only reason why I think they would put that in the film is because
there actually is a real picture.
It's a real picture.
And I'll be honest with you, it would not surprise me one bit, because I actually wound up reading up on Sharon Tate a little bit after watching this film, just to see how much of this movie was pulled into from real facts.
From reality.
There was a lot pulled in that I didn't realize was pulled in. But so anyhow, going back to how Sharon Tate ends up, is ultimately the Manson family, a couple of members of the Manson family, go to the house and they kill everybody in the house.
Yeah.
And it's actually very brutal and violent. There was multiple stab wounds, and they kind of tied them together with ropes and choking and things like that. Very brutal and violent.
Yep.
And when that happened, it was a huge shock in Hollywood, because it was a really brutal killing
movie stars.
to someone. These movie
people,
and they didn't know who did it for quite a while. It wasn't like anybody was caught. Nobody was caught, right away. But the Manson family were involved in a number of other killings, and eventually they got caught. And through whatever, either questioning or whatever, there was a break in the case, I think, a number of months later, and finally that murder
they were the ones. Yeah.
But it really kind of shook Hollywood, and if you read about it, it's almost like it kind of it had an impact on just the whole feel
of society
of the movie society.
Yeah.
It was really devastating, and some people say it killed Hollywood in the late '60s. And this movie is aside from trying to just recreate the feel of that time period, which it does throughout the entire film.
The look of it,
it's unbelievable.
Incredible.
It was also this this alternate reality ending where it's what, if this didn't happen, and
right,
and it actually gave a nice ending, not just the fact that Sharon Tate didn't die, but it tied into the fate of Leonardo DiCaprio's character. It was a happy ending for him.
So John and I get out of the film, right? the other night, and we're coming back to the house, and this is now John has seen this now
Twice.
the second time, and
I can see it again.
and he's basically asked me the question: who do you think was better, Brad Pitt or Leonardo DiCaprio? I don't have an answer to that because they were both
great,
so good in their roles, but they're different roles. They're different roles completely, but they're both.
Yeah.
This might be one of Brad Pitt's top roles.
Oh yeah.
Of his entire acting career.
I mean, I can tell you right now, if
like
this
Benjamin
movie
Button
better get a lot of Academy Award nominations.
I mean, I understand his. You know, when you talk about Academy Award-esque possibilities for Brad Pitt, you know, Benjamin Button comes into play.
Well, I think he actually won for 12 Monkeys.
Okay.
I think Brad Pitt won supporting actor
For supporting, right?
for 12 Monkeys.
Okay, 12 Monkeys.
Another great movie.
Fantastic film. Thelma and Louise, he was in that.
He was in
supporting.
that? I don't know if he was nominated.
I think he was nominated. But again, like for almost like an introduction role.
Yeah. I mean, this
Not
really
bad.
is
This was a
top-notch role.
unbelievable role for him.
Yeah,
Like I thought he was great. Leonardo DiCaprio has really defined himself as one of the better actors of the last 15, 20 years.
He's really good.
And
he's great in this.
He is so good in this movie. It was really hard to. I don't think I can really differentiate. Like I've really been thinking about this. I don't know if I can differentiate who I thought was better. Both of them were excellent from start to finish. There were little like I'm not going to say Easter eggs, but there was foreshadowing done in this film that I picked up with John. There's a scene very early on in the film with Leonardo DiCaprio's shed, and you see a flamethrower that ties back to a Nazi film that he ended up doing, and that flamethrower comes in at the end of the film.
Yeah.
So basically, when the
don't get to the end of the film.
Okay, we're not gonna get to the end of that film, but it was basically foreshadowing, and I basically leaned over to John. I'm like, did you see was that the flamethrower from the film?
Yeah. And I'll be honest,
this was the first 30 to 40 minutes into the film, you see this thing, and I'm like, you saw that, right? And then he's like, oh, yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, I didn't see it the first time I saw the film, but I noticed it the second time, and then I noticed it. I said, oh, there's the flamethrower.
Yeah,
because I know it plays in later.
So we're gonna talk about that.
But Chris noticed, and he goes, is that the flamethrower? And I was like, yeah. but I answered him like I remembered from the first film, but I didn't.
So
and that's when I think one of the great things about Tarantino is that a lot of these things are in the background.
Yes.
But you got to pay attention to see them.
Tarantino has a very particular way about tying things in, not only within the film, but if I can say like Quentin's universe, his film universe, because there were multiple nods to other films of his.
Oh my God! And I guarantee you, I probably don't even.
I think I know I missed some as well.
I know that.
But you caught some. I know I caught some. I love the fact.
I mean, let's go through some of them. Okay,
let's go through. Yeah,
because I can tell right now, I could talk. There's so much to talk about.
So first of all, let's just talk about the cameos.
Okay? Yeah, cameos.
So Michael Madsen is in this film.
He plays. He's an extra. He's an actor in Bounty Law.
In Bounty Law, which is the show that
and Michael Madsen is the main one of the main characters of Reservoir
Dogs, and
he's the sicko who cuts the guy's ear off.
And Kill Bill Volume 1 too.
See, I never saw Volume 2. And I only saw Volume 1.
Well, Volume 1 he's not really in. He's in I think towards the end. But Volume 2 he's in quite a bit. So,
and now another thing, there's a person with the last name Madsen that's part of the Manson family. So I would have a hard time believing that it's not Michael Madsen's son. I think it was a male. And you told me
Uma Thurman
is one of the Manson family.
Uma Thurman, Ethan Hawke's daughter, who was most recently the only reason why I recognized her was because I saw her in Stranger Things, the third season that just came out on Netflix. she's in this film. She was only in the really at the very end is when I noticed her as one of the people that kind of like ran away. She didn't end up going through with the attempted killings. At the end of the
she's
film.
she's the one who left.
She's the one who escaped in the car.
Yeah.
But that's Uma Thurman's daughter. I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. Quentin Tarantino has a relationship with Uma Thurman from Kill Bill, Volume 1 and 2, obviously, and Pulp Fiction, and then puts her daughter in this film. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
And then during the credit rolls, we see that Rumor Willis is in this film. And Rumor Willis, of course, is Bruce Willis's daughter, who, of course, was in Pulp Fiction.
Right.
So you're having actors from 20 plus years ago that their kids are now in his film,
which is great.
I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
Tim Roth
Apparently,
is credited.
Tim Roth hasn't had it,
but his scene was cut,
and it even says that in the credits.
Yeah.
Because Tim Roth cut,
which is unfortunate because I think Tim Roth is a great actor.
This is why you stay and watch the credits, because the credits are very interesting. For a good movie, the credits are very interesting.
The only thing I do not recall, and because you saw it twice, I'm going to ask you: did you see Quentin Tarantino in this film? I don't recall, unless he's in makeup.
I do not recall.
And I missed it. Because usually he's got a small role or something in the film.
Yeah, I do not recall him in the film.
I don't recall him in the film. I didn't see him. I don't remember seeing his name in the credits, but I could have missed it.
You know what? And another omission, I think, is I don't think there was any... I was actually, kind of glad that Samuel L. Jackson was not in this film.
I kind of wanted him in the film a little bit.
Because I think he would have brought too much attention to himself. Even in a voiceover.
No, a throwaway.
Yeah, it would have had to been quick. It would have been quick.
And the voiceover for this film
was Kurt Russell, which I thought was good.
Who was recently in The Hateful Eight, which I haven't seen. I have not seen The Hateful Eight. I know I keep being told I have to see that movie.
I've seen it. It's okay.
That's what I have heard. That is the assumption, or not the assumption.
That's kind of like how I feel about Samuel. To me, Samuel L. Jackson is, he's good, but he pulls too much attention to himself. That's just the way he is. He's that enigmatic, and it's like you didn't want that in this movie. So I was kind of glad he wasn't there because I think he would have. I think his presence would have detracted.
I wish they could have found a simple small role for him. I wish, but
other things they did. They brought back the cigarettes that red apples.
Red apples,
which is that's the cigarette that Bruce Willis smokes. When he shows up at the bar relatively early in Pulp Fiction, he goes to the bartender and says, hey, pack of red apples. And which I'm pretty sure is a completely fictitious cigarette.
I don't think that exists. I don't smoke, but I think.
Yeah, I don't think it. I asked my wife, and she never heard of it, and I'm like, and that's what Tarantino does. Tarantino just creates stuff that doesn't exist. Like Big Kahuna Burger and Jack Rabbit Slims. These are just things that he just throws in, and it's like they're just there.
To the average moviegoer, this is going to be something that you're going to miss. It's going to go over your head, and guess what? That's okay. But to the people that pay attention to the details, that have knowledge of other previous films, it's kind of cool to see some of this stuff thrown in a little bit as, if you want to call it an Easter egg, to acknowledge some of the other films that Tarantino has done, because he has created his own world,
body of work,
and work. And I got a kick out of some of that stuff. I really did. Especially seeing some of these other actors that had done previous roles for him these were basic, small little cameos that he had in there.
I granted, there are probably people that have seen Pulp Fiction and are sitting there going how the hell does he remember what cigarettes Bruce Willis was smoking in Pulp Fiction? Who remembers? If you're in tune, if you pay attention to film and you remember and you understand that
details.
There's a director, Quentin Tarantino, who has a body of work, and you kind of put all those movies together, and you can make the connections. It requires you to be an active watcher of
Yeah.
film and not a passive, just sitting there
And listen,
and
it's
watching and you're not even watching. You're just there.
It's okay if you don't see these things and you don't, you're not picking up on these things on those first watches. Because guess what? That happens to us all the time.
Yeah.
And sometimes we need people to point that out to us and say, hey, did you see this? Did you catch this? And then you're like, oh my God, that's great. Like all of a sudden, like when someone points it out to you or you finally see it, you think that's awesome.
Right.
Like, that's a great catch.
That level of detail adds to the enjoyment.
Absolutely.
Of the film. And
100%.
so many films don't even have anything like that. Like people just get used to that. And that's, I think, the shame is like going to the movies doesn't have to just be mindless nonsense. It is an enjoyable self-referential experience.
Tarantino's films are individual, they're not tied together. It's not a shared universe or anything like that. But when he does stuff that ties into some of his other films, to me, that's enjoyable.
It adds texture. It adds flavor and texture and layers.
And it's just to the fact of like, okay, I'm attributing this to the director, to the guy that's putting this all together. Yeah. It's his story. It's definitely
an attribute.
It's
a positive
to him.
Yeah.
I
mean, the other thing that they brought in, which and I can tell right now, I guarantee you, somebody's got a list out there of all the freaking references.
There are things that you and I
absolutely have missed them.
There are things that you and I
but
missed.
I caught enough of them to enjoy the movie immensely.
Yeah.
And knowing full well that I guarantee you I didn't catch everything.
Absolutely.
Because they make a reference, and you just got to remember these things. But they make a reference to when they talk about is it Bill Dalton? What's Dalton's?
Rex.
Leonardo DiCaprio's name in the movie. Dalton. It's something Dalton. I forget. Rick Dalton.
Rick Dalton.
I think it's Rick Dalton. We're just going to say Dalton because if I'm wrong, I sound like an idiot. Mr. Dalton.
See, this is why I wanted to have the names written out.
There's a lot of people in this movie.
There's a lot of characters.
So when they talk about Leonardo DiCaprio's foray into spaghetti westerns, which I think there's more to talk about that later, they mentioned they mentioned all the different films he made.
Yes.
And
TV series.
No.
Well, he did
spaghetti westerns as movies.
Well, that was later on, but his earlier career was in television.
But so later he was doing spaghetti westerns, and the last movie that they mentioned that he made, they talk about was being directed by
the director.
by Antonio Margheriti.
Margheriti, yeah.
And that's the name of one of the Inglourious Bastards when they go to the movie premiere.
You have one of the Americans that are undercover.
Undercover.
Yeah.
They're going there under the guise of being Italian filmmakers.
This is all about the connections between the films and what Tarantino.
And one of the three guys, it's Brad Pitt and two other guys. One of those guys,
plays
covered name is Antonio Margheriti. He's an Italian filmmaker when it comes to capacity. But it's like I'm sitting there and I'm like,
you didn't see Inglourious Bastards, you might not get that.
That's the name of the guy.
Even if you saw Inglourious Bastards, you might not have caught that.
Yeah,
you might not have caught that a little bit.
And that doesn't make the movie a 4-star movie.
No.
That just it just
enjoyable. It makes it a little more enjoyable.
He's specifically putting the things in there, and it's like and they're not they're not drawing attention to themselves. It's just out there. In that sequence, he mentioned like 15 different people's names, and one of them was that name. And you sit there and go, "Oh, that's the name from Inglourious."
Yeah, it's like, "Oh, I get that, right? I got that reference."
It's he weaves it into the story seamlessly. Whether you recognize that name from a previous movie or not, the act of mentioning that name is not superfluous. It means something in the story. That's the director of the last spaghetti western that he was in.
Listen,
whatever.
When it's put into the film, if you're not in the know and you don't recognize it, it doesn't detract from the
exactly because
it doesn't
it's
detract
not like
from
saying,
the scene.
Why did they even mention that guy's name? It's like it's whoever.
Exactly.
The other 14 names, those might be references from 14 other places that I didn't get. Who knows?
Right.
You don't know.
Exactly. But it's just God, there was just so many good things. Quentin Tarantino, if he does one thing very, very well, it's the way he writes dialogue. He writes characters so well, and how these people on screen communicate to one another.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you. So I think in this movie, there are a lot of Quentin Tarantino movies that have these long scenes with dialogue. Sometimes that throws people off, but I kind of like that because nobody does it. He does it right.
But I think Pulp Fiction is one of the best examples of that because there are so many instances where you have those long dialogues.
Even in Inglourious Basterds. In Inglourious Basterds,
absolutely.
When Christoph Waltz was talking with the guy in the farmhouse, and then also when he's talking with everybody in the bar, restaurant.
Right? Yeah, the restaurant. Yeah.
You know, it's these long dialogue scenes that are great, and you know, not a lot of people do that, and if they did it, they don't do it well. And in this movie, I don't think he did that as much, but he did have that one long dialogue scene on the set with the little girl.
The little girl
that I thought was really good.
I wanted to look up the girl's name before we did this. I do not remember her name, but whoever played Luke Perry's was his little sister.
I think it was his little sister.
Little sister. In the whatever film that they were doing.
That was a TV show.
Okay, whatever TV show that
it was the pilot for Lancer, which is a fictitious TV
right.
show.
So Luke Perry again, this is Luke Perry is one of his last roles. I appreciate Luke Perry. Listen, I grew up in the '90s. Mr. 90210.
My wife was like, "Oh my God, that's Luke Perry."
Yeah.
and
John's like,
"Who?" And she's like, "Oh, and he just died. Oh my God." And I'm like, I don't know who this guy is.
No.
And then Chris brought it up. He's like, Luke Perry? And I'm like, who the hell is Luke Perry? Like, Beverly Hills 90210.
Beverly Hills, man.
I didn't watch Beverly Hills 90210.
I'll tell you right now, I watched that show quite a bit. The fact that Luke Perry was in this.
I think I recognized the name, but I had no idea who it was.
I was very excited when I saw his name in the credits because I had no idea he was in this film.
How old is he?
Luke Perry was probably in his mid-40s.
How did he die? Because apparently he just recently died.
He did.
Like tragically or sickness?
It was I think it was sickness.
Okay.
I think it was a sickness, and it was just.
So this was probably his last role.
It was. I thought it was cancer. I could be wrong on that.
No.
But no, this was
his last.
One of his. I mean, he was on. He was on Riverdale, the TV show. But I think this might have been like one of his last performances.
Okay.
Which was just shocking. But I mean, I was happy to see his name, and when he came on screen, I was like, that was so cool. But to get back to the little girl, there's a scene in the film where the little girl is sitting in her chair reading a book.
And this is off the set.
Oh yeah,
outside of the bar where
filming.
the film is going to be taking place, and it's like they're waiting.
They're on the
They're in downtime.
They're on the studio lot, but they're not like filming anything. Yeah. And then Leo comes around,
and he's a little early for the scene.
Right, and he goes and sits in his chair, even realizing. Well, no, he does. He realizes that the girl's there because the girl's like, why don't you sit down or something?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure if he knows who she is.
Right, and then like they're kind of just talking, and then Leo's kind of reading from this book, and this girl, she basically is like the ultimate little actress.
Yeah,
that
little bit of ingenue.
That wants to be recognized for her abilities at such a young age. Like, and she doesn't want to get out of character.
She wants to be perfect.
She wants to be absolutely perfect in her acting. Like she even said, like she says it to him, like, you know, I'm not an actress, I'm an actor. Like my job is A, B, and C. And she just lists all these things out. And she basically starts talking to Leo about the book he's reading. And Leo just starts...
And he's reading basically like a pulp western.
Right.
Really, standard pulp western, paperback.
And he basically just starts talking about his life. Like, he basically starts to inflect on himself really what the book is about. And he just basically starts saying it's basically about like a cowboy who realizes
he's getting older.
And he's not the best anymore.
Yeah.
And
drawing
then
the parallel to himself.
Yeah, and drawing the parallel to himself. And the girl is just like, oh, that's so sad.
She's reading like a biography of Walt Disney.
Yeah.
Like she's reading this big hardcover book.
It's like an encyclopedia.
Yeah, she's reading about the life of Walt Disney.
And Leo's reading like this tiny like paperback.
Trashy paperback novel with folding the cover back and just read it.
It's really interesting to look at like the dichotomy between the two characters.
Yeah.
But then eventually these people come on scene. And before that happens,
there's actually two lines in that whole interaction that I absolutely love. The one is where he's explaining, the character in the book, his name is Easy Breezy.
Easy Breezy,
and he's past his prime and he's feeling it and he's getting older and he's not as good as he used to be and he starts crying and she comes over
and like to
comfort him, and she like kneels at his feet and puts her hand on his knee, and her whole big thing is when she's off the set, if she's on the lot, she's in character.
And she says it to him.
Yeah,
she doesn't like to break.
Don't call me by my real name. Call me by my character name.
Yes.
So she goes to him and so she goes, "It's okay, Caleb."
Yeah, Caleb.
And Caleb is his character name. So, and it's it's a funny nuance of it.
Yeah.
And then what what DiCaprio says is absolutely hysterical when he goes, "Don't worry, you're gonna know what I'm talking about in about 15 years. 15 years. And she's like, what? Like, yeah, in 15 years she's gonna be past her prime. She's like only 8, but in 15 years she's gonna be like it's not what I used to.
Like in that time frame, it's like when she gets older at that age,
and that was really funny.
Yeah, no, that was really well done. And then there's a scene, and then the scene where Luke Perry's involved. So actually, before that scene, there's a scene with Leonardo DiCaprio and Timothy Olyphant, Timothy Olyphant's like the star of the movie.
Oh, is he Lancer?
I guess he's Lancer, and they're in the bar.
The bar, okay.
Okay, and now Leo at this point's got like this fake mustache on,
which is actually a little uneven, which is really funny. One side is actually a little longer than the other.
So like they're in this bar and they're chatting, and there are multiple parts where Leo kind of like screws up the line a little bit, and so he like they run the take like a couple of times, and like each time like he's like, oh what, like he's like line, like he just like he gets a certain point, forgets the line, asks for it, and then gets like upset about it, and then they end up, and then Leo's like, can we just cut? And then all of a sudden you see Leo back in his trailer.
Wait, don't go back to that yet. So talking about like those filmings, the way those scenes were filmed were actually really kind of interesting.
They're on a track
because you're watching the scene almost exactly as it would appear on TV.
Yes, you're watching it as if they filmed it right then. Like you're not watching it as a behind the scenes.
Yeah, it really almost floats like two things because at the end of the day, all of these, everything's got to be edited together.
But the way that you're hearing everything while you're watching the film, like you're hearing a director, you're hearing a script, like continuity person speak out like at these scenes, but you don't see them. You see it as a real scene being filmed.
You're in the eye of the camera.
Yes,
and it's literally playing out in the movie as if you were watching the actual TV episode in color, actually. And even though it was probably going to be broadcast in black and white in '69.
Yeah.
And then when like something happens, they stop and then they go back
to start,
and then you hear and in TV it probably is the case where it's not like in film where everything's got to be reset. TV is probably they just probably keep continuously filming, and just start over, just keep filming, and edit it in. but it was interesting because it was like all you were getting all the different camera angles at once, and in real
Right.
life production, I don't think you would have that because
Yeah.
otherwise, if I, you know what I'm saying, like if you're seeing my shot from here looking at you, and then you see your shot from you looking at me,
Yeah.
you would see the other
the
cameras.
Yes.
But so it was a little surreal in that sense, but I'm okay with that because it worked.
No, I think it worked well.
It worked fantastic.
And then all of a sudden you see, but because it was real, like it felt
Yeah.
real.
Yeah.
And then we see like
And when he
a
screws
real
up,
character, and he
the
screws up.
lines, it's hysterical.
So then eventually we get back to Leo's trailer, and he's in the trailer by himself, and it's like if you were screwing up in life in whatever you were doing, and you were by yourself,
and
you basically just curse yourself out.
And
you get so upset at
give
yourself,
yourself the business,
and you
just,
literally just like you hate yourself that 30 seconds.
and you're berating yourself.
And yeah, like you just you know everything around you.
It
like,
is one of
a
the
physical.
It is one of the best scenes in the film.
It's
and there are a
great.
lot of great scenes in the film, but that scene
It's
is
great where he literally just like and this is in one of the trailers where like he just basically like hits everything and he calls himself a screw up, and then eventually like he gets himself together, and then one of the next scenes, that's the scene where Luke Perry comes in, and Leo is holding on to the little girl as a captive, and Leo basically puts on a clinic.
He puts it all out.
He does an incredible
job.
acting job, for the film on the set with what's going on. Like throws the girl down, like the little girl throws her on the ground
Yeah.
as an improv.
Yeah.
It was improv. It wasn't even like supposed to happen. And then it
And
all
he's improvising some lines
yes,
as well.
and like the whole thing like plays out, and then after it's all said and done, the director goes over to him and is just like in love with
Yep.
him. Like, that was great. I can't believe you did that. How did you know to do that? And then the little girl at one point turns around and comes up to him and whispers in his ear, "That was the best acting I've ever seen." And he starts to cry, like Leo starts to cry. That it was like, he's like, "I did it. I still got it. I still got it." Like, he wants to know he still has the capability.
And all that is not like parody either. Like television back in the 60s and 70s. As some of it may have even seemed a little corny. Like, these people, they actually came out with some really good shows. These were like, you had these hour-long shows that were like, you had the main characters, but there was always usually a constant, like, each week there was a new bad guy or a new whatever. There was always, and it was like, you had these 3-act shows, like for each episode, where they told a story, and people like.
But this is what Leo has become.
Good.
So Leo basically has become.
He doesn't have his own show.
Towards the end of the career, so in the beginning of the film, he's got his own show, and then
Bounty
Law, and then it gets canceled.
I think he goes to delve into film a little bit.
Yeah, and they end up canceling the TV show.
And they wind up, a lot of the films he's making, they're like kind of like B movies. They're not, great films.
But he gets picked up for these spaghetti westerns and all that stuff. But he's not the main role. He plays the villain.
Right.
It's
and you're only going to be there in 1 or 2 episodes.
Right.
That.
He's like, it's like the villain
of the show.
It's like the villain of the week.
Yeah.
Maybe he rolls over into a second episode. But that's it. That's all he's got.
And basically what Al Pacino tells him is like, you're going to become typecast as being the bad guy, the second banana, the guy who gets beat up and you from show to show. And in all honesty,
Pacino wasn't wrong.
Yeah, no, he's not wrong. Because
not wrong.
You can watch a lot of these shows from the 60s and 70s where there's a lot of, adversarial characters, and you wind up seeing a lot of these bad guys constantly showing up in different shows, and they're the villain of the week.
Yeah.
And they become typecast, and they're not. They're not stars anymore.
No.
And some of them may have never been stars. But like I can see where that rationale is. Like I watch shows and I'm like, oh, you see like one of the heavies, and you're like, you know what? I've seen him in $6 Million Man, Wonder Woman,
exactly.
The Writer.
He it's a guy who's been in multiple.
That's what they become.
Shows.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that I found interesting with this film, and I don't know that I don't know if I'm off base or not, but it's definitely not a parallel, but I just saw similarities with Leonardo DiCaprio's career and Clint Eastwood's career. I don't know if anybody ever picked up on that, because Clint Eastwood in the '60s
he was
in Rawhide.
Yeah,
he was in this
he was the
Western
star.
show.
Yeah,
And then after Rawhide, he made he made movies. He made some Westerns, and he was very much involved in the spaghetti Westerns under Sergio Leone, who was the greatest spaghetti Western director of all time. They make a mention of, you're going to be involved with this guy, who's the second. Leonardo DiCaprio. Leonardo DiCaprio was making movies with the second greatest spaghetti Western director.
Not Sergio Leone.
But even though they don't mention Clint Eastwood in the movie at all, all these movies, almost every movie exists in an alternate reality in some respect.
Of course.
But there's a movie that Clint Eastwood did in the late '60s called Where Eagles Dare, where it's he plays a guy against the Germans.
Yeah.
And this is it reminded me of the movie that he's in, the 45th of McCluskey, whatever it is, where he tortures all the Germans. But there are scenes where he's in this movie where it's a war film and he's shooting down all these Germans with machine guns. I'm sitting there and I'm like,
well, Tarantino will probably know that, because he knows old films.
He knows all these things.
And he definitely he plays on nostalgia.
He was definitely not saying, Leonardo DiCaprio is, a parody of the Clint Eastwood character. But I'm sitting there going, not for nothing, there are definitely some parallels here.
But I wouldn't be surprised.
Maybe he pulled from a little.
I wouldn't be surprised if he pulled from.
Maybe a watered down Clint Eastwood.
But you know what? We have to talk about the other character in this film, which is Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt is
Brad Pitt
fantastic.
Is unbelievable in this film. One of his best roles, in my opinion, of his career.
Yeah. If he is not nominated for an Academy Award, I'm going to be ridiculous. Because I think he should probably win it.
Basically he's like a no nonsense type of character, but he's very real. He's very down to earth.
Yep.
Whereas Leo is the star, and his character knows that he's kind of still the star.
He's embedded in the Hollywood structure,
right?
Granted, he's not at a superstar status,
right? He's not there at that point.
He was okay,
but he was known.
No, he was absolutely known,
and people know his name.
He was a very popular TV star.
Yeah,
and there are a lot of people from that time period that were known because of what they did in TV.
Right.
Regardless of whether they ever did anything else after that.
And then you end up having Brad Pitt, who has essentially become a glorified gopher for Leo's character.
And he's a stuntman. He's used to being behind the scenes anyway.
Right. And so he even says multiple times he kind of enjoys just doing these things for Leo, because Leo's paying him. It's not for nothing.
I think they get along very well.
Yeah, I mean, they're very friendly. There's multiple instances where Leo mentions that they've been working together for multiple years, and they get along really well, and they look similar. I'm guessing on screen. So there's a point in time where the whole Manson storyline is starting to interweave into Brad Pitt and Leo's storyline, and it's third time's a charm, where Brad Pitt ends up picking up one of these girls and ends up bringing them to the camp,
the movie ranch.
The movie ranch.
I forget the name.
Spawn's Ranch.
And I don't know if that's a real place or not. It certainly could be. It certainly could be based on a real place, but I have no idea.
I don't know where the Manson family cult lived. Hung out. If this was on the Spawn Ranch or not.
Not sure.
But so basically, Brad gets there, and it's it's an old movie Western set that Brad knows because he had been there before. He was asking about the old owner of the place, because
played by Bruce
who
Dern.
played by Bruce Dern, another great little cameo, and that he knows the guy. So what ends up happening is he's getting closer and closer to meeting up with Bruce Dern, and all of these other
It's the whole Manson
cult family start like gathering together.
It almost looks like Children of the Corn.
Yeah, and it's just like you keep seeing this happen, and Brad Pitt. It's all happening behind Brad Pitt, and, and you're just like, something bad's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So he gets in. So he gets into the main house, and I don't know, Bruce Dern.
Bruce Dern.
So his
Laura Dern's father.
Right, and in the it's Lena Dunham. Right? Lena Dunham, I think she plays
the girl?
Like the girl, the redhead who's in the house.
Okay, her name is Squeaky.
Squeaky.
That's her nickname.
That's her nickname.
That actually is a real person from the Manson family.
Okay, well, no, I wouldn't be surprised if they have a lot of... But no, I wouldn't be surprised if Tarantino did that and had like a lot of the real personal names of these people.
This movie is full of the
real
actual
references.
Stuff that happened.
So
there was a Squeaky who had her full name and whatever her name.
So Brad Pitt goes into this house, and as soon as he goes into the house, you're like, all right, he's getting whacked.
Something's going down.
There's no way he's walking out of here alive.
Yeah, or without a fight.
It ends up seeing Bruce Dern's character. We all think he's going to end up being dead. He's still alive. They chat. Bruce Dern's out of his freaking mind. Doesn't remember anything. Has a terrible memory.
I'll be honest with you. With the scene where, where he's in the house and getting closer and closer to the room and trying to open the door, maybe this is a stretch, but it absolutely reminded me of the scene from Psycho, where the woman is getting closer and closer to the room. The fruit closet.
Okay.
Where because
you see the mother.
Yeah, where you see mother. And because anybody watching this movie is sitting there going, this guy is dead. Bruce Dern is dead, and he's laying in the bed, and it's a matter of, is Brad Pitt going to find out and, turn him over? And to me, it really had almost like a very duplicative feel of that scene in Psycho, where eventually the woman gets close to the mother and turns her around, and she's dead. But in this case, he was alive.
I wouldn't be surprised if Tarantino did do that. But like John said, he kind of touches Bruce Dern, and we all thought he was going to be dead.
I thought he was dead.
Ends up being alive. They have a chit chat, which Bruce Dern, he's out of his mind, and then Brad Pitt ends up leaving and walks away. And the entire time I'm waiting for him to get killed on this ranch. And it doesn't happen. He ends up driving away, and that's it. That is the extent of the Manson Ranch as we were exposed to it, pretty much.
But what it does
until it sets up the payoff.
It
sets up the end.
Where at the end, where he recognizes the people.
So but
I still don't want to go to the end yet. There's so much to talk about in the beginning.
Oh,
because when we start talking about the end, we're going to be over, because the end is unbelievable.
Well, I love the one thing I will say about so if we were going to get into, let's say, Sharon Tate's.
I don't even want to get into Sharon Tate yet. Going back to so one of the things that I like that Tarantino does in this film is that he really brings the feel and the references of the time. It's like
between the music.
Oh, the music in this movie is unbelievable.
So good.
It is constantly throughout, and it's even some of the songs, kind of reflect a little bit of what's happening on screen. Not always, but sometimes they do.
I think the majority of what he picked for the film referenced what was going on screen.
Yeah,
I really
but
did.
A lot of
it felt that way.
And a lot of it was some really good music. And that's the thing, like back in 1969, you listen to the radio, you were listening to some really good music, and he was like just recreating
But
what it was like to live in '69.
but we also figured that out too. But we also saw this too. There were Tarantino had real broadcasts
yeah,
from 1969
real commercials
that you saw in the film, whether it was a TV commercial,
community commercial or radio commercial.
that was all legit. That was
Yeah.
that he put in his film that he was able to grab via real ads.
Yeah, and
I
I'm
thought
telling
that
you,
was
it's
great.
and you know the way that stuff sounds on the TVs and radio technology at that time. You know, it is kind of cool. It is kind of like a throwback and engrossing.
Yeah.
You know, they have a scene where you know, and he just lives it with these things. You know, and it's just meant to get you.
It pulls you in.
It pulls you in to make you
Absolutely.
like reliving that time period. Whether you lived in that time period or not,
Yeah.
it's trying to make
I
you
didn't
feel that.
Listen, I lived in that time period, but I'll tell you what. Right now, I enjoyed the hell
Oh my god.
out of what he was able to do to pull me into that time period, and I enjoyed the adventure. I enjoyed
Yeah.
the story of what he was trying to tell around that time.
Because so many of the scenes, you know, it's like, you know, even if it's just people driving, you know, it's like, you know, people driving on the highway, like even that propelled the story in the sense because it just
Well, that happened to Brad Pitt multiple times.
It
He was a
perpetuated,
drive.
right?
But it showed him.
It wasn't just like boring going from place
No.
to A to B. It was like
Yeah.
it was meant to, you know, give you that sense of
Yeah.
that time because
Yeah.
they were listening to music. All the cars in this movie
All the cars are
were
fantastic.
period. Every single
Love.
scene, whether you were on the highway, on the street, or whatever, you know, every car in this movie was period.
I love
And
how
it's
they were
not
able
easy to
that.
do all that.
No,
you got to
it's
go
not.
out of your way to do that, and that's what he did. He went out of his way to do it
Not
right
only that,
at
but
every level.
But even the exterior shots of certain buildings
Mm-hmm.
that they were around at the time, especially the movie studios, they made it
Oh.
seem like it was still in the late 60s.
Yep, and you had all the marquees and the movie
All the
posters. What was my and the thing-
multiple marquees.
Throughout-
it wasn't just one.
throughout the
It was multiple marquees that they were driving through.
Mm-hmm.
They had the movies of the time of that 1969, at that time that film
Yep.
was taking place.
And most of those movies
They
that
have
were
that
on
out
there,
there.
like either I've seen or I've heard of, and it's like, and you know, and that's, you
But
know,
it was appropriate for the film.
yeah, and that's the thing, like you walk around today, there's maybe one movie worth seeing. You know, you walked around in 1969, you know,
Multiple
there was
films.
so many movies
Yeah.
worth seeing, and a lot of these movies weren't great. You know, there was like there's one scene which I really enjoyed, just because of how he did it, is when Brad Pitt is going back to his house or wherever he lives, and he lives like right by like a drive-through, drive-in movie theater.
Yeah,
And
it was
it's like-
behind it.
You know, it just, you know, the movie playing is Lady in Cement, which is a Frank Sinatra, Raquel Welch film. And it's not a great movie, but it's fun, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But like, I've actually seen that movie. It's a real movie. You know, and it just shows, you know, the camera goes, it's behind, and it rises up, and it goes over the screen, and it just shows the entire parking lot of that drive-in movie theater filled with cars.
Yeah,
Because, you know, that's what people did.
that's what they
back
did
then.
that time.
People went
Yeah.
to drive-in movie theaters.
No,
and people don't do.
No.
Drive-in movie theaters almost exist nowhere in the country.
It's dead.
And it's like, these are things that people did in the 60s, and they were fun, and they were common, and they're uncommon today.
Yeah.
You know, things like Margot Robbie putting on a record player.
Yeah.
You know, listening to an album. You know, Paul Revere and the Raiders, who nobody even heard of, which, you know, I've heard of them, but I don't even know their songs. But it's like, you know, like just like putting on a record and listen. Like, I remember playing records on the record player.
Yeah.
You know, it was cool.
No, but that's where
And it's just
Tarantino.
point after point after point.
But that's Tarantino playing nostalgia,
Building the nostalgia.
from
And I
his
really
his
felt that-
time frame, from his
Yeah.
life, pulls that in from the music and everything that moved him, and the story that he probably experienced when he was around
And I
that
really
age,
feel that
around
this
69.
was the point. This was really what he was exploring with this film. It was less about, not that it was less, but he really focused on the nostalgia part and recreating that throughout the entire film.
It was kind of like
more so than any other film.
This is what was happening in 1969, and then Sharon Tate died.
Because the movie is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and he's trying to recreate that and change the event that destroyed that.
Right.
In this,
and that's where like
fairy tale Hollywood.
That's where everything comes in. So
yeah,
you know, at one point, like we you know, there was a small focus of Sharon Tate in the movie theater when she goes in and she kind of watches herself in the Wrecking Crew, and she watches her whole film, and we see like bits and pieces of her watching this movie, and she's got these glasses on,
and she is smiling.
She is so happy,
ear to ear.
and it's just someone she's not a star, but she sees herself in this film. She hears the audience
reacting
to her, to her scenes, and enjoying what she's doing,
and she's enjoying that,
and she's getting off on that, and like, oh my God, these people like what I'm doing.
I have never seen a scene in a movie of a person watching a movie and enjoying.
Yeah.
The enjoyment on her face is priceless.
But it's not based on what's on screen. It's based on the reactions of the audience and the people the communal experience that John
and the audience and the movie is not completely packed. You know,
it's sprinkled throughout. But John and I talked about this before. It's that communal experience, being in a theater, enjoying what you're watching on screen together. She did that with all of those people and got to see and feel what the other people in the audience were experiencing watching this film. But she just happened to be in it.
Yeah.
And it was so surreal as we watched all that. And I said this to John when we were watching this.
I thought it was a beautiful scene.
There's such a dichotomy in this film where you're watching, you're almost watching like the decline of Leonardo DiCaprio's character, but you're also at the same time watching the rise of Sharon Tate and her character. So there really is this dichotomy of these two people kind of almost like meeting at one point in time. But in real life, obviously Leo's character doesn't really exist. But in this film, in this context, what ends up happening in the end is almost like a best case scenario.
Yeah.
So like we get to this point, and we get to this end point where the Manson family people, the Manson cult,
the
Manson family. That's how they're pronounced. So there were 4 people in this car that were like, they ended up driving and ended up on the cul-de-sac of where Leo lives and Roman Polanski lives. Now they live right next to each other in this film, but Roman Polanski's gone. Yeah. But they're playing like this ridiculous music, and Leonardo DiCaprio, like, he can't stand it. So he can't stand like this whole, like, you know, he said throughout the film he is not a fan of hippies or anything.
Well, yeah, do with throughout
hippies.
The film they actually do, you know, there's a little bit of a hippie presence, especially with the Manson family people that like sprinkled throughout.
Yes.
You know, and they do talk about like hippies, and it's really funny. And you know, not for nothing, like back in the late '60s, that was a thing. That was a following.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, people walking around barefoot and hitchhiking and all that shit.
And Leo like can't stand that, so he basically goes out in his like drunken stupor,
rant,
and he rants off at this guy who was at the Manson ranch.
But he doesn't recognize him yet.
Well, he wasn't there, so he goes off.
Oh, that's right, he wasn't there.
So
right.
So he goes off on the. So Leo goes off on the guy in the car, and these people from the Manson ranch that Brad Pitt met when he went there.
Yeah.
But obviously they don't know that. So the guy in the car is like, oh yeah, fine, whatever. So he ends up driving back down the end of the private road, and Pitt goes back, and then Leo goes back into the house, and then the people from the Manson family are like, Charles gave us this order to go to kill everybody in this house who's living there, and he's talking about Sharon Tate's house at this point in time. But because Leo saw them and came out, the driver, Tex, starts changing what they're going to do and says, "Hey, we're going to go and get these guys because he saw us."
Yes, and
he
I don't know that
he can recognize.
Yeah, I don't know that they spelled it out exactly, but that makes exactly perfect sense.
Right,
because they're there to kill whoever is in
Sharon Tate's the Polanski house. Right.
But they run into this guy, and now there's a witness. So at the end of the day, and then they start talking about their whole rationale of, we should kill the movie stars because they're the ones that taught everybody how to kill. Wouldn't that be just desserts?
Yes.
And they recognize
and it's a ridiculous.
It's
it's an absurd thought, but like they reason it out,
and
they're all like,
and they play into that because they
great.
recognize him as being the star of Bounty Law. So they recognize him as he is actually one of those people in TV that
it was okay to kill.
So now that they're going to kill him, they want to kill them because it feeds into that theory, and two, he is a witness.
Right.
One of the things I liked about you talk about like I don't know if there's a difference between Sharon Tate and the other character, but like Sharon Tate does some things that would be unheard of today. She's driving around Hollywood. At this point in her career, she is, an up and coming movie star who absolutely has a number of films under her belt, and she's actually had been recognized in the Hollywood industry as a very promising newcomer.
Right.
So she's just not, and she's
also Roman Polanski's
wife. Yeah. So the scene where she picks up a hitchhiker.
Yes.
No star in Hollywood today is picking up any hitchhikers. No. It was just, it was more of a free spirit type thing. And if you go back even further, back in the 40s, movie stars, stopped making movies to go to war. Well, they enlisted in the armed forces.
But I think it was basically showing Sharon Tate's character.
Yeah.
Sharon Tate was someone who
was
open
to do that.
Open to do that.
Yeah, and then people, I think people today would be like, "That's insane."
That's great.
But you know what? It's not insane.
Right.
Because back in the 40s, baseball stars, like some of those, people in the 40s, big, baseball stars, they weren't making a lot of money.
No.
A lot of those people, a lot of those guys, they were taking the subway to the game to play.
Right.
They weren't going in their limousine or whatever.
Listen, it's very different from today.
It's very different from today. And that's, I think some people have fun. Now Polanski, we haven't even talked about Polanski at all.
That's a whole nother video.
Yeah, Polanski is Sharon Tate's
her
husband. Now they actually, in real life, and I think they mentioned this in the film, they met on the set of Fearless
over in Europe.
It was
wherever he was filming.
The movie he was filming was Fearless Vampire Killers, and you could easily say that the death of his wife, in my opinion, it didn't derail his career, but it really stunted it, because Polanski's greatest films, in my opinion, are all before Sharon Tate died. He made. So they even say in the film, like, "Oh my God, Roman Polanski, he's this big name." Well, why is he a big name?
Yeah,
Rosemary's Rosemary's Baby.
Yeah,
he didn't make a single movie. That was literally the last movie he made before Sharon. One of the last movies he made before Sharon Tate.
Leo knows who he is, and Leo mentioned
everybody knows who he is.
Who Roman is.
He's a hot director.
He's like oh, maybe he'll know. So-and-so next door, and that he'll want me to be in his next film.
Right. I mean, he's a Polish. This guy's, Polanski's a Polish director. One of his earliest movies was a movie called Knife in the Water, 4-star film that nobody ever heard of. But then he started making English films, and he wound up making 3 of some of the greatest films ever made. Mm-hmm. Rosemary's Baby is probably the most well-known, but he made Repulsion And the movie with Sharon Tate is Fearless Vampire Killers, or Pardon Me, But My Teeth Are in Your Neck. That's really literally the name of the film. It is one of the best vampire films ever made. And, you know, he was like a super hot director. Not for nothing, I don't think he made another great movie till The Pianist, you know, decades later. But it's like, you know, it's a shame that, like, I literally think the impact of Sharon Tate's murder completely derailed his career. You know, and
we're not talking about, you know, like personal issues that like Polanski's,
which he may not have ever got into if he remained married to his wife.
Yeah, like,
you know?
he's got other problems.
You know, and that was really
one
one of the tragedies about Sharon Tate is when she was killed, she was 8 months pregnant. You know, that's just disturbing. You know, and
it's not like you didn't just kill her; you killed her and her baby.
You know, there are people that, like, you know, some people say like the end of this movie was very violent, but you know what? What really happened in real life in this story was maybe even more violent than what happened in this movie.
So I mean, listen, Tarantino is known for his films to have violence in
ultra violence in some cases.
Ultra violence in
and I think
in multiple scenes.
I think this movie is not ultra
for the
violence.
most part. This film, I think, is pretty tame until you get to the final scene.
But even that, to me, is realistic.
The final scene, in my opinion, and probably in John's, it seems like it's somewhat justified because if you think about it, it's a home invasion.
Yeah.
So you basically have the three people from the Manson family come in, and they're basically looking to kill everybody in the house. Now, Leo's in the pool with his headphones on.
He doesn't know anything until much
later.
No
idea what's going on. Brad Pitt's trying to feed his dog, and Leo's Italian wife is in the bedroom.
One quick sidebar about the dog food. This is another scenario where, like, Tarantino just completely invents something. The dog food in this movie is absolutely hysterical because, and this is the thing with Tarantino. So many of these things that he's putting in the movie, like, he's not putting the camera right on it.
No.
You gotta find it.
You
gotta look at it. You know, he's not just, you know, so many people today when they make films, you know, everything is broadcast. Everything is explained. Everything is right.
They put it in your face.
It's in your face. And it's like, no, the thing is to make it behind the scenes. You know, Tarantino's movie is about creating the feel of 69 and these characters.
Right.
Every single thing that is a great reference is literally in the background, behind the scenes.
Right.
The focus of the shot is what's going on with the character and what they're doing. So you have Brad Pitt making this dog food, and I did this both times I watched the movie. I'm trying to read the labels of the dog food because it's so funny. And the name of this dog food is like Wolf's Tooth.
Yes, Wolf's Tooth.
Wolf's Tooth, which has absolutely got to be fictitious. There's no way.
Yeah.
And the motto is just like, it's like dog food for mean dogs. And there's...
Well, he's got a pit bull.
Right. There's 3 flavors of Wolf's Tooth. Do you have any idea what the flavors are?
I know. I remember seeing like at least 2 of them.
Okay.
But I don't know what
the
they are.
flavors of this dog food. One is rat. The other is raccoon, and the other is bird. Like literally, the rationale is like, these are for mean dogs that go out and kill other animals and eat them.
I saw a rat and bird.
It's absolutely hysterical. Just like little stupid things like that are absolutely hysterical.
But I mean, up until that point in time, there really isn't too much violence in this film.
No, there isn't.
I mean, the Manson
and I can tell you right now, a lot of people go into
Pitt,
Tarantino films thinking they're going to be ultra violent,
which he has had in the past.
Yeah, because I mean, I thought the ending of Django Unchained is over the top.
Even the scene.
There's a lot of violence in
Kill Bill.
There's a lot of violence in even in The Hateful Eight, I think.
Even the Pulp Fiction.
But Pulp Fiction, like, it was perfect and it made sense. Whereas with Django Unchained, it was like, to me, excessive. This movie, it was perfect. and it made sense, and it was
when
still
he saved it.
he could have done so much worse. And
He saved it. He saved it until
there was
this
restraint.
scene, and I think that this scene at this point in time. So when the home invasion basically happens.
Now we got to
Brad
talk.
Pitt.
You got to talk about Brad
Pitt
character.
is basically
Brad Pitt is a no.
He's a no
nonsense
nonsense guy. He really
You
is.
know,
And at this
Oddly
point,
enough, he's never been in jail, and because they mentioned that he's not like a violent guy that goes out and kicks people's asses for no reason.
he's a stuntman.
He's a stuntman. He's a tough guy. He doesn't put up with anybody's shit,
Yeah.
and he has the ability to take care of himself, which they show
When he goes up against
Bruce Lee.
Bruce Lee.
Which is actually kind of interesting because I was thinking about this. I'm like, not for nothing, Bruce Lee would be able to kill him. But in that scene, you would have never expected.
There's a scene that's
on the movie lot.
That's on the movie lot between
and it's one of the best
Bruce
scenes.
Lee and Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
Which probably is one of the best scenes.
And they go at it. Just like with words.
And then I think it was more or less kind of like it really was like a macho thing. It really was how Tarantino filmed it.
Yeah. And Bruce Lee's not going to go full out
where they try to go like toe to toe with one another. But
they're feeling each other out. And they're on a movie set. They're not like, it's just like Bruce Lee's not going to kill the guy.
It's not full on. But I still think,
but
like
Brad
honestly,
Pitt
like
held his own.
But Brad Pitt holds his own in the film, and again, it's for the film. But I still believe 100% if these guys went real toe to toe, Bruce Lee would have killed him.
But Bruce Lee is known for having to show restraint. So he's fighting this guy that he's never fought before.
But it's
and Brad Pitt lets him knock him down just to feel him out.
But
then he winds up throwing him into a car, which is great.
But you see Brad Pitt like being tough, and he demonstrates it there, and he demonstrates it at the Manson Ranch.
Yeah.
So now we get to the final scene where it's the home invasion happens. Brad Pitt's high on an acid cigarette that he smokes.
Yeah, which I think is great because there's a scene where when the acid really kicks in, he's like talking to the dog and he shakes his finger
and he starts like looking at his hands
and like you know what? And it's like he starts doing that and as the movie watcher, you're sitting there going like, what the hell is he doing? And then you realize it because and that's the beauty of Tarantino because he doesn't have to. Like, Brad Pitt doesn't have to sit there and say, oh man, that acid is really kicking in.
Right.
As
like
he is forcing you as the viewer to watch the scene and understand what happened. And then you sit there and you go, oh yeah, the acid is kicking in. And that's beautiful to make you understand.
And when the home invasion happens, like Brad Pitt basically is there with the dog and he's got a gun in his face not more than 10 feet away, and
he's like, "Is that real?"
Right. He like questions.
He thinks he might be tripping out.
Like, "Are you real?" And you kind of laugh because we all know that he smoked the cigarette.
Yeah.
But we all know like this is actually happening. And then all of a sudden he makes a sound of he makes a whistle sound, and the dog goes after the guy. And then Brad Pitt he's holding a can of dog food.
And one of the girls
starts to rush him, and he turns and blasts
full
her.
Force. Just throws this
metal can right in her face, crushes her nose, and she drops to the ground.
It is a beautifully choreographed violent scene.
Yeah, choreographed is that is the best word you could use because it's exactly what happened with that, where the dog goes after the one guy who had the gun that was pointed at Brad Pitt,
and he has no qualms about setting this dog.
No, dog goes off.
End of the day, you're this Brad Pitt guy who's not going to put up with any shit, and you're in a home. You're being a home invasion with guns and knives. Yeah. Like, you know what? You're dead.
You're dead. I'm gonna have to stick my dog on you.
There's no hesitation. There's no guilt. Like, screw you. You're dead.
And the dog goes at it, and then Brad Pitt takes care of himself. Now,
and then he sticks the dog on the other girl.
And he sticks the dog on the other girl after he blasts her with the can. I know there's controversy with this film with what Brad Pitt and how he treats one of the home invaders, one of the women in this, because he bashes her head in a number of times.
After she stabs him with a knife.
After she stabs him with it, she lunges at him and ends up stabbing him with a knife.
And in his mind, this is all self-defense, and you know what? Screw you. You're dead.
Yeah. So
and he really brutally bashes his girl's face in.
I mean, no, that it's there's no question that he brutally puts her through the ringer multiple times.
And even though, I mean, you could almost say like he's on acid, so maybe his thresholds are really gone. But I think even if he wasn't on acid, he probably would have done
just as bad,
just about the same,
if not worse.
Yeah.
And I think you kind of have to put yourself in that position and say, okay, what would you do if your life was in danger and you had these people coming at you? I think, I mean, he was in character, and that was his character.
Yep.
So I think,
and I don't think it was over the top.
I kind of agree that I think it was within reason of what his character was and what he would have done. So I don't question at this point in time.
And I
really
think,
don't.
and I bet you there are some people out there that watch this film and really dig into the nostalgia.
Yeah.
Then they're just so naive, and they watch the end.
Well, they don't like the violence,
and they go, oh, why did it have to? And it's like, you know what? No, it did, because screw these guys.
Yeah.
These are the guys that are going around killing people and killing pregnant women.
Right.
Just desserts.
But it wasn't. And that's what happened in real life. But that's not what was going on in this movie.
Yeah.
And I get that. And I get the people that are being upset. I guess because it's about the treatment of women. Because the one guy. So there was one guy and two girls that invade this house.
Yeah.
And the guy just basically gets mauled by the dog. He doesn't get the crap beat out of him.
Well, he does. Well, after the dog mauls him and sicks the dog on the other girl. That he goes after Brad Pitt with the knife, and he winds up.
Oh well, Pitt, Pitt takes care.
This is after that. He sticks the knife in him and punches his face in, and crushes his skull.
Yes, he does.
Yeah,
but he doesn't.
But
and he does do that.
Yeah.
But what he does to one of the other girls, smashing her through
multiple
the
mirrors and phones and ledges,
posts, like multiple wood posts and everything, like. There's a lot more damage done to that girl than it was to the guy.
She's absolutely dead.
I can completely understand people that don't like the violence aspect about this, but I think it is within reason of the character for this film and what they ended up doing.
Yeah. Now, when the second girl gets mauled by the dog, the first girl who gets the crap beat out of her gets mauled by the dog. She winds up going through the plate glass window. There was a part of me that almost felt like the way she was reacting and going crazy was almost a little over the top.
Oh, agreed. Because when she goes out into the pool, Leo's out there. Leo's on a float. His character's on a float, doesn't know what's going on, ha ha ha. And then all of a sudden, this girl plows out through the window
with a gun.
Into his pool, but she can't see him.
Yeah, she's all screwed up.
She's messed up.
But she's flailing.
I'll
be honest with you,
everything.
the way she's flailing and screaming, it literally reminded me of some of the characters from The Evil Dead.
Yeah.
The way they were almost possessed.
But so the best part about this is what comes back from the beginning of the film is that Leo goes into his shed, grabs the flamethrower from the Nazi movie that he did, and lights her up.
Well, the ironic part to me about that is that at the end of the day, she is in a pool. It's like fire on water. All she has to do is go under the water.
But I don't think but she's nowhere.
She's crazy. But even when she's on fire, she's standing in a pool on fire, and at no point does she go underneath the water until she's literally unconscious.
Oh, dead. Yeah.
She's dead and unconscious. So that to me was a little funny in a way, but it was to me it was still perfect. It worked.
Oh, I think
him bringing out the flamethrower was great.
I mean, I think that to me was a great way to end the fight. And then of course, like we get the storybook ending of Leo at the end
Yeah.
getting to meet up with Sharon Tate, because basically what happens is Sharon Tate,
All this stuff is going on.
all this stuff's going on,
And one
and
of the
like,
guys from the house comes down to
and-
see what's
right,
going on.
and like there's all this police that's on
Yeah.
like their cul-de-sac,
And he starts
the one
talking to the guy.
starts talking to Leo, and he's like, "Hey, like what's
going
on?" So they start,
And
you
they
know,
don't even
going
realize.
on.
They don't
No
even
one
realize
realized that
that
they were really there for
really
them.
going there. They were the second
Yeah.
stop. You
And
know,
then,
and
and,
it's
then
crazy.
and then Sharon Tate basically comes, she
Calls
messages
on
down through the call box.
The call box.
And
they
it's
start
like, oh my
talking.
God, is that Rex or whatever his Dalton?
Dude,
It's like,
I
is
think
that
Dalton.
Is that Dalton?
Mr. Dalton.
Mr. Dalton? And so they start talking on the call box. She's
And-
like, oh, please come in. And then the gates open up.
And they meet up and supposedly they're already neighbors, but they
it's like
meet.
they become very friendly and they meet. And it's
And
like, okay, what
it's
would have
like,
happened
you
if
know,
this
Yeah,
occurred?
and
Because that's what Leo
and
wanted.
this is where the movie was ending, but it was like it wasn't all about okay, what happens with these guys with Sharon Tate. It was all about okay, this is what's happening,
Yeah.
and at the end, it comes together, and then it's like
This movie,
they're still alive,
right?
and now Leonardo DiCaprio, maybe had some doors opening.
Yeah. I mean,
Because, like he said in the movie, he goes, I'm one barbecue away, one pool party away from being in Polanski's next film.
Yeah.
And you know what? Maybe he is.
and that's what he exactly.
And Margot Robbie's Sharon Tate in every scene.
If there is one complaint I have about this film is that there was not enough
of her.
of Margot Robbie.
You know what? And I was okay with the amount she was in because it was there in the background, and it ended.
I think
Because if you read the
such-
reviews of this movie, it's about DiCaprio and Pitt, and
No,
it really is.
and it is.
But
is.
it's how these fictional characters tie into
But the problem,
that story.
if you want to call it a problem that Tarantino creates, is that he does such a good job with Margot Robbie that you want more of her. You just don't get it because it's not about her. She's the side story.
Yeah, the movie is not about her.
She's the side story.
But
She's a subplot.
the sub.
And it's Tarantino, and it's about DiCaprio, and it's about Pitt.
Yeah, because
It's
if
about
you
those
ask somebody
characters.
what the movie's about, it's about these two guys,
Yeah.
and ultimately what happens, how they change what happened with
her,
that.
right?
You know?
And how like their interaction interferes with that.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I mean, listen.
I gave this movie. I want to give this movie 4 stars so bad it's not even funny. It's probably the most solid 3.5 star movie I've ever seen.
You're not guessing that. You know what it is.
But
Don't guess.
you know, I got it. You know what? Because I almost feel like there were certain times where it could have been more, it could have been better. But you know what? Almost every single movie can be better than it is. To me, it really, like Gone with the Wind could have been better. There were certain scenes in Gone with the Wind that could have been better. That doesn't mean it's not 4 stars. So I got to give this movie 4 stars. I'm sorry.
I really enjoy this film. John and I think I know we mentioned this before. Like, I don't know who I liked better, Leonardo DiCaprio or Brad Pitt, because these guys are the stars.
Yeah.
They're both unbelievably good. Leo is so talented, and he shows it in this film. He is so good as an actor on the decline of his career and how he's trying to hang on to the glory days. And Brad Pitt kind of tagging along as his stunt double, and what that means for him and his career and what he's able to pull in and do, and how he's just this no-nonsense guy. They were both so good. And Margot Robbie is not in the movie enough, but what she does while she's in the film
Is magic.
is unbelievably good. Like, it's palpable how good she is in this movie and how much you just want to kind of like hold on to her and make sure that she's safe. Like, knowing what happens to her character,
Yeah.
you don't want it to happen to her because of how innocent she is and what she plays in this film.
Yeah.
And I really dug that about this movie. Tarantino does such a great job with the interaction of characters, and I really do appreciate that, because I think that's very hard to do, and he does it so well, so seamlessly.
You know, and so in so many of these like type of movies, in the hands of an inferior director, they almost become like, I don't know if they want to say parodies, but like they almost don't know what they're doing. And,
Right.
and what you have is you wind up actors that like, you have actors not playing the part. They're almost like playing it hammy.
Yeah.
They realize they're in a throwback type film,
Yeah.
and they're like, they don't even know how to play it straight.
But they don't do it in this film. Like,
Yeah,
these guys,
these characters play their parts,
You know-
and they're in a movie by a director that knows how to direct this type of movie and get the feel out.
I have to say, like, Tarantino has always done a really good job with casting, and this film does not disappoint. I don't
Yeah.
care if you're talking about Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio, or if you're talking about Rumor Willis and, oh my God, I'm going to forget Uma Thurman's daughter.
There's so many people
like-
in this movie, I don't even know who they are.
Oh, these characters from the top to the bottom all put out good performance. The girl, the young girl who was in the scenes
I don't
with
even
Leonardo
know who
DiCaprio.
she is. Never
I
seen
do not
her
know her
anything.
name.
And
She's a young
she's
actress.
great.
But I'm going to tell you right now, in 5 years from now, everyone's going to know her name, because
Yeah.
she is a good young up and coming actress. She is going to find something because of this film,
Yeah.
and she's going to go somewhere.
Sure.
She was excellent in her scenes and so believable as a young actress.
Yeah.
I can't actually wait to see what she does as she gets older.
You know what's really funny when you talk about the difference between Sharon Tate's character and Leonardo DiCaprio's character, and this is something I didn't realize until I saw it the second time. There are two parallel scenes in this movie that are identical, with the two different characters, but different completely reactions. There's the scene in the beginning of the movie where they show Roman Polanski and Sharon Tate coming
Yes,
off the
where they're
airplane
coming
in
in.
the airport,
Yep.
and it's like the paparazzi are there and they're
Yeah,
taking
they're
pictures.
all yep.
The scene at the end of the movie when DiCaprio is with his new wife,
from Italy.
and they're right,
And Brad
and
Pitt's-
they're,
and
and
Brad
they're,
Pitt's
they're
pushing
coming
him.
out of the airport,
Yeah.
and they're like they're walking like they're on the runway, but
There's no one
there's
there.
nobody there, and it's just Brad Pitt's behind them pushing all, and it's like
But this is what I mean by
and
the
it was actually kind of funny,
And that's what I mean by the dichotomy of
Yeah.
how Tarantino filmed all this, where it was like, it really was the decline of Leonardo DiCaprio's character and just the rise of Sharon Tate. And
Yeah.
it was kind of just like it was happenstance that they met,
Yep.
but only because they foiled the Manson family.
Mhm.
And it was, it was kind of one of those, again, it's those what if scenarios that occurred.
And I think the thing that I really enjoy about this movie is so much of the little touches that Tarantino went out of his way to just pull things in. Like there's a scene in Brad Pitt's, I almost want to say, is he living in a trailer?
He lives in a trailer, yeah.
They just show a couple of comic books,
Yeah.
on his thing,
Yeah.
like from that time period, and things that he would read. It's a Sergeant Fury and Italian
Yeah.
Commandos, and I think a Kid Cole Outlaw, Western and Army. Those are the types of comic books he would read. But they just kind of throw those in there. There's a couple of things in there that really meant a lot back in the day, but I don't know that people would really care now. But DiCaprio, when he was on Bounty Law, he was, like we said, he was pretty popular. He was the star of that show, and it was a popular show.
Yeah.
So what happened during that time period? He wound up getting a cover of TV Guide that was about Bounty Law, and nobody reads TV Guide. But I'm telling you,
But
back
then-
in the 60s and 70s,
Yeah.
TV Guide was pretty cool. It was pretty common in every house, and the cover, and it came out weekly.
Right.
And the covers of TV Guide, some of them were great. A lot of them were, they weren't photographs. They were,
sketches.
There were sketches of the, I know there were people that did all these sketches of all, being on the cover of TV Guide was a big deal. And there was even a Rick Dalton parody on Mad Magazine. They had a Mad Magazine sitting there, and I think Mad Magazine is still around today, but it was huge in the 60s and 70s. Like, for him to be on the cover of Mad Magazine, that was pretty cool. And he actually went out of his way to kind of recreate these issues of Mad Magazine and TV Guide that don't exist, but he put them out there, and they were sitting on the table. There was one scene in there where the Manson kids are like walking down the street, and they're walking past a mural, and it's a mural of the hell's his name? In Giant and East of Eden. What the hell? Having a brain freeze. What the hell's his name?
I'm going on you with this one.
I can't. He's the guy. He's the.
I know what scene you're talking about.
Yeah,
I just don't know what.
He's the guy who died. He made like a couple of movies and he died. James Dean. Okay. So,
James Dean. Okay,
so it's the famous picture of James Dean from the movie Giant, where he's like he's like leaning up. He's leaning and he's got his feet up.
Yeah.
So the beauty of Tarantino is that if anybody else, if this whole side of this building is painted with this mural, anybody else making this movie would have had a completely far back shot, because they're like, I'm pretty sure that mural hasn't existed since the 60s. I'm pretty sure it was painted for the film. They're like, well, we painted the mural. We're going to have it in the movie. We got to, sit all the way back and showcase it. And it's like, no. In the movie, they just have the kids walking down past the mural, and the shot is focused on the kids. And you see a portion of that mural.
Right. And
as they're walking past it. And if you're astute enough, you can see a portion of that mural.
Well, that was the artistic.
And go,
that was the artistic choice.
That's James Dean the Giant. To recognize that, as opposed to like doing it in your face. Like, oh, well, we got to show it all. That's what I like about it. That all these things.
But that's the beauty of I think of Tarantino.
Are behind. They're not. He doesn't go out of his way to just put it in your face.
No.
He gives you enough respect to just. It's so much better just being there where you could. If you're paying attention, you can see it. And you got to figure it out. There's just so many of that throughout this whole film. It's endless, and it's just so freaking good. I love this movie.
John,
I would see this movie again and again and again.
And you know what? And I enjoy this film too.
And I almost want to do what you said you want to do, is go through the cast on IMDb and see who the hell all these people are.
I feel like I've missed.
Because you watch
Tarantino's usually in his films, and I don't recall him being in this film.
I don't either.
So either he was in heavy makeup that I didn't recognize him, or maybe he didn't have a role, or he was in a scene and it just got cut. That might have happened too. He might have just cut himself out of the film.
Could have.
So that could have happened too. But I really would like to go through the cast and kind of just take a quick peek.
Yeah, and part of me wants to like almost even go online and almost, because I'm sure somebody out there has put together like a just huge list of like all the references, and like one of the things that they did was he was really unbelievably spot on, almost with the recreations of characters, because the guy who played Bruce Lee
was like great.
Really good.
He was great.
The guy who played
loved that guy.
Yeah.
The guy that played Bruce Lee, I thought he was freaking talented.
And incidentally, I forgot to bring this up. They show a scene in there when
he's training Sharon Tate
with Sharon Tate. Yeah. That really happened.
So you think
No, that did happen. No, that did happen. I looked that up.
So he helped train Sharon Tate.
He helped Sharon Tate train for the Wrecking Crew, because she's involved in a fight scene and doing some crime. Because I saw that and I was like, like I was like, that was it. And then I read up on that, and I'm like, yeah, she did train with Bruce Lee, because this was early in Bruce Lee's career. This was when Bruce Lee
was still on.
Was in the Green Hornet.
Yeah.
In Kato. This was before I think he started making a lot of his movies.
I'll tell you right now, that scene showcases Margot Robbie a little bit with him, and it's like some images. I'm telling you right now, if you go and watch this film, if you haven't seen it yet, and you're listening to this podcast or watching this video, Margot Robbie was not in this film enough. After seeing this film, if I had a complaint with this film, my only complaint is that Margot Robbie was not in this movie enough. She was great for the scenes that she was in. She should have been in this film more. I wish she was in this film more. She is a great up-and-coming actress, and wanted to see
she's beautiful in it. And if you look at pictures of Sharon Tate, looks like Sharon Tate is
Margot, Sharon Tate's fantastic. She's beautiful. This is too. And John and I have both discussed that in the Wrecking Crew, when Margot Robbie's watching this in the theater, I don't think they photoshopped Margot Robbie in that film.
Right, which they did when they did The Great Escape.
Right,
which was actually kind of funny.
With Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah.
But I think they kept Sharon Tate in the film of The Wrecking Crew when Margot Robbie's watching it in the theater. Understandably enough, that maybe Tarantino did not want to distract from Sharon Tate, and maybe
by leaving it the actual footage of Sharon Tate was kind of like a little
an homage and respect to
which
her,
was nice.
Which I get.
Yeah, and incidentally, the scene right before she goes into the movie theater, where she goes into the bookstore, apparently that actually is real. Like she actually, whatever book she was buying in there, was something that she was buying for Roman.
I think
as a president, that was real.
I think the foot trails that we saw of Sharon Tate happen throughout the film, I think those really did occur, and that Tarantino really tried to showcase
the addresses were right. When she's in that bookstore,
Cielo Drive.
That was their address. And when she was in the bookstore, she actually puts her hand on some sort of statue.
What was that again?
And that was, to me, it looked like the Maltese Falcon.
Yeah. Okay.
Which makes sense to, people say, oh, the Maltese Falcon is a movie, but, these were all
books.
These were all noirish type, pulpish type detective novels. The Maltese Falcon, I'm sure, has its origins in literature before it was made on the film. All these things. The actor who played Steve McQueen was like, I almost thought that was actually really Steve McQueen, whoever that was.
Oh, I'm going to forget. But
at the play,
they did a great job.
They even just recreating the scene at the Playboy Mansion.
Yeah,
was amazing. No, and the woman who meets Margot Robbie, that's Mama Cass.
Yeah,
that's Mama Cass from the Mamas and the Papas, and it's just like they don't really you actually hear her say Cass something like that.
Yes,
but it's even before they said it, I'm like,
but those are those little things that you catch if you're paying attention and watching.
And I think the only part of this movie where Quentin Tarantino went out of his way to explain something, because there was no other way around it, was when Steve McQueen was explaining the triangle.
Yes.
Because that was probably not obvious to most people. And I think he said, you know what, this is where I'm gonna, so people know.
Yeah.
So he had Steve McQueen explaining it to somebody else.
Right. Between the ex-husband and Roman Polanski.
They worked the dialogue into a good joke at the end. So they weaved it in, and it worked. And that was the one time where Tarantino so you know what, I gotta explain this to people. Because to me that was
and you know what? I think that was okay, because you know what? I didn't know that before.
It worked out. It worked. So, to me that worked out good.
Overall, I really enjoyed this film. I know Johnny Mo really loved this film.
Oh my God. I'm gonna go home tonight, driving home, and I'm gonna be like, oh shoot, I forgot to mention that. Oh shoot, I forgot to mention that, because there's so much about this film.
I mean, listen,
I think it's beautiful.
We obviously highly recommend going to see this film in the theaters while it's still out. Yes, it's a long movie. Don't worry about it. It doesn't feel like an actual 2-hour and 45-minute film.
No.
It goes by much faster. It's really enjoyable. Just go in with open eyes and ears. Enjoy the film as much as you can. And I think that's really it. I mean, listen, judge for yourself. Let us know what you think. Please give us your comments on the film. Did you like it? Did you not like it? What were your reasons? If you think we're crazy, tell us we're crazy. If you're like, oh my God, that was great, let us know, because we honestly want to know what you guys think. That's why we're doing all this. We're sharing all of our ideas with you guys. So we really hope that you guys play a part in all this. And we're hoping.
Well, I mean, I'll say what even Chris said. Like, if you're gonna go see this film, see it now. See it on the big screen.
Don't wait. Don't wait for it to come out on digital.
You're gonna enjoy it on TV, but I'm telling you, the sound and the feel and the presentation just plays so well on the big screen, and that really is where movies are meant to be played.
I agree. 100%.
I was talking about this film on Facebook, which I almost never do, talking about films. But I was like, I love this film, and I was like telling Chris, I'm like, this film is easily cracking my top 200, which sounds absurd. Oh my God, 200! But trust me, my top 200 is tight. But I can tell you right now,
Johnny Mo's saying that, guys. I'm gonna tell you right now, that means something.
Yeah, this film is really knocking on the door of my top 100.
Yeah,
it's really not.
Which I'm going to tell you right now, guys. That's a big deal for Johnny Mo.
And I can tell you right now, I watch a lot of old films. And when I watch an old film, there are so many times where I'm blown away, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I've been on this earth 50 years and hadn't seen this yet. I watched a movie the other day, The Train. John Frankenheimer directed, 4 stars. Burt Lancaster. Heard of it, never saw it, watched it, blew me away. And I'm like, wow, I get blown away all the time by older movies.
Yeah.
I don't get blown away that often in the theater watching a movie for the first time. It just doesn't happen that often anymore. And it's annoying because I'm sitting there and I'm just like, why can't these newer films blow me away?
You want that.
And when I watched this film, I was like, for the first time in years, I was literally like, wow, this film is great. I'm not going to say a better person. It has contributed to my life experience. It was a great experience. That's a good way of it wasn't just watching nonsense and just passing the time. It was like, wow.
I enjoyed the film a lot. I would recommend this film. If we're doing these podcasts and we're doing these viewings for YouTube, guys, we're doing it to tell you that either we like a film or dislike a film. We're both telling you we enjoyed this film. Go see it. If you're watching this right now and if you've dealt with all these spoilers, what are you doing? Go see the film.
Yeah.
Go watch it, because we're not doing it justice. You have to go see this film.
And plus, we're telling it completely out of order, like a Tarantino.
Yes, like a Tarantino film. So please, by all means, go watch it, enjoy it. We thank you guys for not only watching, but hopefully tuning into our new podcast.
Yeah.
We hope this is going to bring in a whole new medium and a whole new audience that we haven't been able to get on YouTube. Because yes, our videos are long because we go into detail. We want to give you a full experience. We're not just looking, we don't have a producer that's telling us, okay, you got to keep it to 20 minutes. No, we are going longer. We are going to 45 minutes. We are going over an hour because there's so much to discuss. There's a lot to talk about, and it's hard to just keep it under that amount of time.
And the more you like a movie, the more I can tell you right now, I could probably talk about this movie for another.
I don't know how long we've been talking, but I know we've been talking over an hour, I'm sure over.
It's probably an hour and 40. I'm going to go with an hour and 42 minutes.
Yeah, no, it's a long time. But I guarantee you right now, guys, that we're trying to engage the viewer or the listener in some degree. So we want you guys to let us know what you thought of it. It's not just about us. We want to hear your thoughts too.
I want you guys to be as passionate about a movie-going experience as we are.
Absolutely. That's why we're doing this. We've wanted to do this for so long. We tried to come up with a medium that we can do this. Having a drink while we're getting to talk about a film is just the start, and it's just our discussion, the back and forth that we get to have about film, and how much we both enjoy it on different levels. It's not, we don't experience the same thing. Like the way that John sees a film sometimes is very different from the way that I see a film.
Sure. We don't always agree.
We don't always agree, but it's
and
something
we may even agree that we enjoyed it, but for different
reasons, completely different reasons. And that's the whole point of doing this, because art is so subjective.
Yeah.
We want to know, like, we're telling you what we thought about the film, but it's our opinion. It's our subjective take on the film, on the medium, on the art. Like, we want to know what yours is too, and we hope that you engage with us and tell us what you thought and what you feel.
Yeah, and this film qualifies as art.
Absolutely, 100%. Like,
and
Tarantino has been known to be one of those directors where you either love it or you hate it. But sometimes people agree to disagree, let us know what you guys think about this film. We both really enjoyed it. We hope you do too.
I told Chris when we were getting ready to start this, I said, Chris, I could talk about this movie forever.
He told me I have to rein him in.
I said, just get a taser and just shock me unconscious, and then the tape, because I could talk.
But I know we've been talking a lot about this, so we're gonna end it right here. We hope you guys enjoyed this.
Well, I'm gonna, as soon as we finish taping, I'm not letting anybody down. I'm gonna have a Guinness because I'm ending my night with a Guinness. There's no way.
But we hope you guys enjoyed this podcast, enjoyed this view of this YouTube video, and we hope to talk to you guys again soon.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
So that's about it. Enjoy the rest of the night, guys.
Take care.
Enjoy. Cheers.